back to The Drop, a podcast exploring the seen and the unseen, the known and the unknown, and all of the liminal spaces in between. My name is Claire, and I'm going to do just like a little reintroduction. I took quite a bit of time off between the last podcast. I think the last one aired sometime in October. And it's now January 2026, a whole new year, a whole new season, and a lot has happened in between the last episode and now. So we're also on video. We're also on YouTube. I've never done this before, so woo, new things. I am an Akashic Records practitioner, a shadow worker, an energy healer, a massage therapist, an artist, a baker. I am so many things, but in this capacity, through Aster Holistic, through this podcast, this is a journey of exploration, exploring the shadow and the light, exploring all of the energetic, metaphysical, magical, seen and unseen realms, and everything that just swirls around our life. Through Aster Holistic, in my capacity as a healer, I don't love the term healer, but here to sit with you and guide you and help you and assist you and support you and hold space and just do all of these things through the journey of life for the people that maybe have tried all of the traditional therapy methods, and while they help, they might keep getting stuck. I'm here for the people that are ready to really dig in and learn about their soul, learn about their soul's journey, learn about all of the different factors that come into play into our lives, into our healing, into our purpose, into like what the fuck is the point. So that's who I am. That's why I'm here. If you've been listening to the podcast before this episode, then you've heard quite a bit about my own journey and my own journey through my own underworld, my own shadow, my own dark nights of the soul, and the path that has led me to where I am as a psychic intuitive, as a witch, as a spiritual person, as, just who I am today in all of the different facets that I arrive. So if you've been listening, been following, thank you. It means a lot. It was really weird getting people's like Spotify Wraps. I don't know, when I started this, it was just sort of like to get all my thoughts and views and takes on things out into the world, not really even in the hope of it becoming some big thing. Like, it's not some big thing, but it's made a much larger impact than I thought it would. And it's just really cool. It's really, really cool to see. It's really cool to hear. It's been really incredible hearing everybody's stories and how me sharing some of my experiences has helped other people navigate and find their way through their own. One thing that I have really, really learned just in life is that, like, we're not alone in what we're experiencing. We're not alone in our struggles. We're not alone in our successes, we're just not alone. And if me sharing what I've experienced can help other people know that they're not alone, know that there is someone out there that sees them and hears them and understands, then amazing. So welcome. Today, I'm just going to be talking about different updates and sort of like what's been going on in my life, because there has been a lot of change, like so much change. What new stuff is going on in the Astro Holistic realm, and my offerings, and how I can support you, and then we'll take it from there. So, if you're new here, I was living in Western North Carolina for almost 8 years. It would have been 8 years this month. I moved there to a little town, Bryson City, in January of 2018. And this year, I just got the message from Spirit, from the universe, from the world, that my time there was at its end. That chapter was coming to a close, and within the span of 7 weeks, my fiance and I decided to not renew our lease that, was up for renewal on November 1st. We decided to move to Denver, Colorado, a place that I had never been before. Like, the first time being in Denver was when we drove up from New Mexico. We were staying with some of my family. We drove up to look for an apartment, and we were here for 4 days, found and signed a lease for an apartment, went back down to New Mexico, got all of our stuff, and then moved up. So it's been a little wild, but that time in between was so slow and intentional. And so I'm going to speak to quite a lot of that today, because literally every single moment of it was guided by Spirit, guided by my higher self, my partner's higher self, all of it. And I am just so grateful for the awareness that I have in all of these unseen forces. Because if I didn't, this process probably wouldn't have even happened. And if it had happened, it would have happened in a very different way, and probably in a way that would have been intensely difficult. So let's get into a little bit of that. All right, so move to Denver. I've gotten, the question of like, why Denver, a lot. It is very, very different from where I was living. I was living in a town of less than 2,000 people, and, a place where very touristy. Like, it shuts down pretty much in the wintertime, and even in the summer, pretty much everywhere is closed by like 8 p.m. Denver's very different. Almost 800,000 people. It's, a massive city, and it is alive and awake pretty much at all hours. That, though, these like physical differences aren't really what I necessarily want to focus on, or I guess need to focus on in this. My relationship to places, and my draw to places is very, very energetic, and there's always a reason, even if I don't know it at the time. So my move up to North Carolina, I moved from Savannah, Georgia, like I said earlier, in 2018, was I did not understand why I was so drawn up there. Like, it truly was the most random thing. I had graduated from college in Savannah. I had moved all over the place this kind of chunk of time of like Savannah. I'd lived in France. I'd lived in New Jersey. I'd bopped back and forth between Savannah and New Jersey. New Jersey was not for me at all. But I was just like getting this pull, like I was looking all around. I was feeling a pull out west, like to New Mexico. I was looking in Taos. I was looking in New Orleans. I was looking in Austin, Texas. I was looking all over the place. And then I kind of ended up looking around, just literally on the internet. In the Asheville area. I'd never been to Asheville before. I think I'd been up to North Carolina maybe once or twice ever, like, to the Greensboro, Raleigh area. So my knowledge of that state, of that region, was quite small. And I ended up getting through Craigslist, you can't do this anymore, but I got a live-work trade to help open up a hostel in Bryson City, as it's a big hiking area. The Appalachian Trail runs very close to Bryson City, so hostel made sense. And I was just like, yeah, sure. Like, put in my 2 weeks. Where I was working at the time in Savannah, and loaded up my car and just like drove up to this tiny little town in the middle. Like, truly, it's like on the edge of the Smoky Mountain National Park. And I did not understand why the hell I was there, because it was just, it was the dead of winter in this town. At the time, the entire county in which this town was in, 1,500 people. Like, that's it. There was nothing. I was terrified. I was like, what have I done? Because Savannah's not a huge city, but there's a lot more going on in Savannah than Bryson. Anyway, my time there, I have now come to understand, was a really, really big initiation into who I am today. Man, I went through a lot, or experienced a lot. I don't want to say went through. I feel like that puts a negative, or dour tone to it. I experienced a lot. I learned a lot. I shed a lot. And I found myself in that space. And that space will forever hold just like the most important place in my heart, one of the most important places in my heart, because I don't know, it cracked me wide open in ways that I didn't think I could be. I never imagined I would be. And in the final months, weeks, days of living there, I was just talking with the earth, like with the consciousness of that space, like daily. Because when I moved there, it was like the first morning there. I just like walked out of the hostel that I just moved into and took a walk around town. It was like early in the morning. And I was standing on a bridge over this river that runs through the town. And I just like clear as day heard this voice of like, you're going to die here. Not in a dark, sad, scary way, but just that like this is it. This is home. And so when I was just processing the fact of like, oh, my time here is over, in this past August, this past September, I was really struggling to understand why, because it was a truth, that I felt like right here, like in my solar plexus of like, yeah, like I'm going to die here. This is it. This is home forever. And it just came to me like clear as day. The earth, my higher self, spirit was just like clear, like you did die here. All of the parts of you that were ready to be let go, all of these things that were keeping you from truly living, are gone now. And it's time for you to like leave this cave. It's time for you to leave the womb, basically. Like this whole process, it truly felt like I was just being shoved out of the womb, like into the world, brand new. And while that's really beautiful, it was also really scary because I was just like, oh my God, like, just like so much has happened, and I've worked really hard to like be where I'm at in this place, and my friends and this and that, and just all of these places, these mountains and rivers and lakes that I love, that I like talk to every day, that are friends. Like, what do you mean? I have to go. So it was this really strange like excitement for something new. I could like feel it. It was that like 7-year itch of like, whew, okay, we've gone through this cycle. It's something new now, exciting, a rebirth, but also like a little baby bird being pushed out of the nest. But like it was just so freeing to be like, wow, you're right, spirit, you're right, earth, like I did die here. And now I'm walking out new, wiser, lighter, more aware of just like what is going on and who I am and my soul's path and my soul's purpose. And and so then begs the question, why Denver? I have family out west. I have family in New Mexico. I had been in New Mexico for like 2 months in the spring, helping my family with some things. And the whole time I was out here, out in New Mexico, I was like, what? Like, I'm supposed to be here. I don't know why, but I'm just supposed to. And so I kind of like, I started looking at houses in Taos. I started, just like looking around. I love to look around. I like, weirdly, this might be too much information, but I'm fascinated by this, and I would be really curious if people listening, I don't know, like specialize in this sort of thing, understanding. Anyway, I was conceived in New Mexico. So there's that. And when that information was like passed me in a weird way, but when it was, I was like, something about this makes so much sense, because I always felt like more belonging, and like things made more sense in that space than it did in the space in which I was born. I was born in Mississippi. I felt like a fish out of water there. Like it never made sense. Anyway, so if you're listening and you, I don't know, specialize in understanding the energetics of like where people were conceived, I would be very interested to talk to you. Moving on, while I was in New Mexico in, this past spring, it was so strange. All of these things were just like pointing to Denver. In my book club, we were reading a book that was based in Denver. I think like the early 1900s Denver. I picked up another book like while I was in Cloudcroft, and literally just the cover looked cool. I am that person sometimes. Started reading it. Denver. It was all about Denver. All of these other little things, like some of my fiance's friends had just moved to Denver. Another set of his friends were like, yeah, I think we're going to move to Denver. One of my friends moved to Denver. And it just kept, I felt this like physical pull, even though I'd never been here before. And so I get a call from my brother. He's at the time, this was in late August, he was kind of like, yeah, I might switch jobs. And so like the three places that I would potentially move to if I do this is Charlotte, North Carolina, Phoenix, Arizona, or Denver. And as soon as he said it, like almost dropped the phone. And I was just like, okay, like that's it. That's the last sign that I need. Like I am receiving all of these as signs. And I had asked like if I'm just, I don't know, misinterpreting this, like, please show me. But if I'm not, then like give me a sign. Give me a very clear sign. Like, am I supposed to move to Denver? And then my brother being like, yeah, I think I'm like might be moving to Denver. What? Anyway, hung up the phone, turned and looked at my fiance, and I was like, I think we're supposed to move to Denver. And he was just like, okay, yeah, let's do it. Bizarre. So in this process, we took a long time to get out here. We had already, committed to doing like Thanksgiving holidays and everything with my fiance's family in Virginia, and we didn't want to miss that. And so we stayed on the East Coast for a bit. During that time, like we were in Ocean City, Maryland, so at the beach by the ocean. That was just like deeply, deeply healing, deeply healing. I had planned during that time to just like create and create and create and like make all of this stuff. Like I have this like backlog of all of this stuff that I want to share through Astro Holistic in my head, right? And I was like, we're gonna like do it. It didn't happen at all. I was writing a lot while we were there, but I was so exhausted. And I was just going through this deeply, deeply intense underworld journey, shadow journey, mission. And I was getting really frustrated because I was like, no, like, this was supposed to be the time that I created and did all this stuff, made all of these things. And I was like, almost just like throwing a little tantrum, like a little kid, like, what? Why did these hard things have to come up? Like, why isn't it going my way, you know? And I promise there's a point to all of this. So yeah, it didn't, like, I wrote so much, but I didn't do what I, like, that time didn't end up being what I thought that time was going to be. That being said, it was exactly what it needed to be, because I've just reached this whole other layer, this whole other level, this whole new depth within myself, which has really been allowing me to reach even deeper layers and depths with my clients. And so, yeah, that time was spent client sessions, writing, sleeping, and processing through my own stuff. And I am so grateful for it because, one, I mean, I feel so much better. I feel like I've just like shed all of this like psychic weight. And what's been happening in session with clients, like specifically the private mentorship, I don't have words. I don't have words. I will get into that in a little bit, but it's been wild. And all of this is to say that, well, sometimes we have an idea in our head of what we think something is going to look like, and it looks very different in how it actually unravels. And there's a reason. So to continue on with all of this, after Thanksgiving on, I think, December 1st, maybe, we packed up our cars again and drove across the country to New Mexico, to my family's home, with the plan of kind of bopping back and forth. Like, they're only a 6-hour drive from Denver, which isn't short, but after a 26 plus hour drive from Northern Virginia to just outside of Albuquerque, the 6-hour drive just didn't see it. It was like, oh yeah, let's just go down the road. Yeah, the plan was to kind of bop back and forth, explore Denver, because my fiance had been to Denver like a couple of times before, but, wasn't all too familiar with it. I had never been. We wanted like boots on the ground to really find, like, take the time to find the neighborhood that we liked, to take the time to find like the ideal apartment, like where we're going to feel safe and comfortable and held, and like it will be just our own little creative studio. And so we drove up to Denver with the intention of, we like booked an Airbnb for, I think, 3 nights, 4 days. And we're like, yeah, we're just going to like go through this very slowly. Like, this whole time I'm like connecting with my higher self, connecting with his higher self, like talking with spirit, like just slam shut all the doors that we aren't supposed to go through and open the doors that we are supposed to go through, because we just want to be exactly where we're supposed to be, doing exactly what we're supposed to be doing, like for the highest and brightest good for every single creature and being on this planet, in this universe. And like that has been the intention this entire time. So we come up to Denver. I'm driving and I'm just like, I'm starting to like freak out a little bit. Like, oh my God, like what the fuck have I done? Like all of my material belongings are between my car and my fiance's car. We just left a place that we have lived in for almost 8 years. We know it well. We're so comfortable there. Our friends are there. What are we doing? What the fuck are we doing? And we're driving up. We like stop off and like do a little hike to just kind of like settle and ground, hop back in the car. And I'm like internally, I'm just like, we're like an hour outside of Denver. I'm like, oh my God, like, am I even going to be able to drive here? I don't know how to drive in a city. I'm like seeing all these signs for like pull over and like put your chains on if the lights are flashing. What do you mean? I don't know how to drive in snow. I don't even know how to put chains on a car. I like feel so out of my element right now. And I just like, I was just like out loud. I was like, Spirit, like, just show, like, am I supposed to be here? Because like, if I'm not, I'll turn around. I'll do whatever I'm supposed to do. And then I just like look up. We like come around this bend on the highway and like all of the mountains, it's sunset. Everything is pink and orange and purple. And I just like, I start crying. I'm like, oh, this is why I'm here. Like, I don't have words verbally for why I'm here, but I just got it. Like, the earth was just like, Claire, get a grip. Like, yeah. Yes, you're supposed to be here. Yes, like, you're allowed to be here. Because I was even like, oh, I'm like, not even, I don't know. I like started spiraling in this weird, like, unworthiness little wormhole. And the earth and spirit just like showed up in such a real way of like, dude, like just look in front of you. Like, yeah, you're here. So we get into Denver. I'm truly just like lit up with joy. Like there's just so much life around everywhere. And I'm like, okay, like, I kind of feel like a bug drawn to a light in this moment just because, like, it's been so long since I've been in a city. It's been so long since I've seen this many lights, and, like, it's Christmas time, so there's lights everywhere. It's beautiful. And I just take a moment and I'm like, all right, I don't want to be, I don't kind of, I don't want to walk around with, like, rose-colored glasses on. Just because like all the lights are pretty and I'm excited. I want to see the true honesty of this place and understand the energetics that I'm stepping into. And so as we're walking around, I'm very quickly shown, the underworld of this space of Denver. And this is a very nuanced thing that I'm going to try to explain. Because, I mean, there's a lot of weird stuff happening in Denver, in terms of the government and kind of what's going on there, the whole airport thing. I don't want to get like too conspiracy-y, but there's a lot of strange shit happening in Denver. And so we're like bopping around, taking a walk, and I'm just like holding it in my heart of like, show me the truth. Like, I don't want to get caught with like the rose-colored glasses thing. Like, I want to see what I'm stepping into. And I noticed on the sidewalk, like all these, like little stencil spray paint things. It literally just says, I am death. And I was like, oh, okay. Got it. All right. And then we like roll up to this, I don't know, it's like a little like pizza plate, like pizza by the slice. You just stand at the window, grab it, go. So fiance's getting pizza. I'm just kind of like walking around, like looking at stuff. And I see this like playbill thing, for concerts. It's like, oh, cool, like live music, finally, like live music everywhere, which I'll get into at some point. And I was looking at it and I saw something for Saturnalia, and it was a concert being put on by the Colorado Satanists. And it was like a church burning celebration or something, which that's like another, that might be like too much of a rabbit hole to get into for this episode. But I don't know, you can look up what Saturnalia is if you're interested, and then yeah, I might do a bit of a deeper dive on that whole thing. But I was just like, okay, got it. Like, yes, the lights are pretty, but yes, there is like a dark, gnarly undercurrent here. However, it's not being hidden. Like, I feel like the darkness is on full display. And honestly, I appreciate that, because I have been in a lot of places where it's like, oh, light and love, healing, all are one, whatever. But it's like, dog, no, when I actually look at the energy, this shit is gross. This is dark. This is like false light. This is deception. This is not genuine. So on some level, I do appreciate that it's just like, yeah, like we're dark. Cool. Perfect. I can work with that. What I don't love working with is the trickery and smoke and mirror thing. So that was like night one in Denver, like probably 4 hours in Denver. We have, I think, about like 5 apartments lined up to tour, with like others that because I'm just like, I get really obsessive and I want to like see everything. I like to have my options. I want to know. And so we go through this whole process of visiting all these apartments, going on all these tours. I'm taking all the notes like an absolute freak. I'm just like writing everything down. I'm looking everything up. And by the end of those 4 days, we had applied to one place. The very first place that we toured, and that's the place that we ended up living in. And this is where I get really, really honest with you, because I had a complete little tantrum, toddler style meltdown. Because again, just like my time in Ocean City, I had all of these grand plans of where the apartment was going to be, what it was going to look like. Like, I totally had this dream of living downtown on like the 12th floor with a balcony overlooking downtown, and just feeling like Sarah Jessica Parker, Carrie Bradshaw in Sex and the City. That unfortunately is my favorite show. It has been for as long as I can remember. And so just embarrassing fact about me, I guess. So yeah, I had this whole thing. And that is not what ended up happening. I was like so set on this one building that I don't know. I really liked the area. It was like a little edgy. 12th floor apartment, the whole thing. And my fiance was like, Claire, I really think the first place that we toured that's like maybe, I don't know, 10 minutes outside of downtown. Like it's not like we're far from downtown. I was just being some type of way about it. He was like, I really think that's the place. Like they had a photo or something hanging up that like, it like meant something to me. It had been in my life before, and I was like, oh, that's a sign. And he's like, yeah, Claire, like loosen the grip. But I was like, no. Like, no, that's not where we're supposed to be. Like, we're most certainly supposed to be in this other place. Um, and so I start like looking more into the place that I really wanted to move into. And I find these reviews and police reports where two separate occasions, one person had been shot at the pool, another person had been shot in the elevator. um, what? Like, what, Claire? Why? What is going on? And so I tell my fiance, I'm just like, okay, whatever. We won't go there. But there's this other place. What? Like, why? Why am I doing this? Literally, the day we're leaving to drive back to New Mexico, we'd applied to the first place. I like try to book in this one last tour before we get on the road to drive 6 hours back down to New Mexico because I found this place that I liked the name of it. Ridiculous. Anyway, we are walking into this place to try to tour something. Get the email that we've been approved. They're sending over the like lease contract and everything for this first place that we had toured that my fiance the whole time was like, yeah, we're supposed to be there. Like, we're literally walking in. We like park the car. We're crossing the street to walk in. And I was like, no, like we have to tour this place. It's what I had in my head of like where we would be living. I'm just throwing this whole thing. And in my mind, I was like making these little like deals with myself of like, okay, like if we can't tour it right now, then, you know, I'll just let it go. Like we're not supposed to be there. We're supposed to be at this other place. We walk in. Of course, they can't do it. You know, they ask if we can wait for like 2 hours. And even then, I am like being so stubborn. I'm being so stubborn. And I'm like, oh yeah, we'll wait 2 hours. What? Like, we're supposed to be driving back to New Mexico today. Claire, why are you being like this? I walk outside, tell my fiance, and he's like being so patient. He's like, okay, what do you want to do for the next 2 hours? You know? And I just throw this fit. I have this whole meltdown. I'm like, I don't know why I'm being like this. I know that we're supposed to be at this first place, the only place that we've applied to, the place that we just got accepted to, the place that is sending over the contract for the lease agreement. But I don't want to admit it, and I don't know why. And it pisses me off because it's not like the vision that I had in my head. And he's just sitting there listening to me like, okay. And I'm like, dude, it's my ego. It's my ego. I want it to look like this specific thing, and I don't want to let that go. And I'm just like pissed off. And I had to pry the cold, dead fingers of my ego off of this entire situation because I got so caught up in my vision, what I thought it was going to look like, how I thought it was going to shake out. And I got so in my head, so in my ego, in like around this specific thing that I just like, I was like, no, I'm not listening anymore. And I'm sharing this story because it is so easy to be like, oh, I'm following my soul, I'm listening to my higher self, like I'm so aligned, and just really get lost in the ego of it instead of actually doing what you say you're doing. Really, really letting the ego take the driver's seat. And like, had I just kept pressing on that, honestly, like I don't know what would have happened, but we wouldn't have ended up in the place that we're in, which is perfect. It's perfect. For us, it's perfect for what we need. It is in like an incredible location. It's perfect. But like, I was so like, no, I know what, you know, what we're supposed to be doing. And that was just such a humbling moment for me, to be like, that differentiation between, yes, I know that spirit is calling me somewhere, I know that I'm being guided, and like when the ego can kind of hijack that. And learning the signs of when that's happening, not only learning the signs because like I saw the signs, I just ignored them, but really learning to check yourself in those moments before it just really gets out of hand. And like luckily, this wasn't like it was important. It's where we're living. It's, it's important, but it could have been the it could have been way more important, a different situation. I say all of this for multiple reasons. This topic of the ego is something that isn't new. It's something that with a few of my clients we've been working around, working with, through, in session because, well, multiple reasons. I'm going to bop around a little bit. One, connection to your higher self and connection to spirit is so important. It is like, well, the blueprint thing. I led a session working with the blueprint a few weeks ago, but it's just like having a roadmap. It's like having a GPS. It's like it is having a guide of like, yes, no, turn here, don't turn there. You're guided, you're led by something higher, something more divine, something that sees the bigger picture than you do on the ground. And I don't mean this in like an outsourcing, way, like how we see a lot within a lot like specifically Christian religions of just like, Jesus, take the wheel. I don't mean this in a like bypassing, like give it to God and just like let go, but in a co-creation with spirit. In that, we are people. We live in imperfect bodies. We live in an imperfect world. And so imperfection is going to happen. And so whether you are a healer, a psychic, a channel, whatever you are, the ego's going to get in the way sometimes. And we have to, like I said just a moment ago, we have to check ourselves. We have to be aware of like when this is happening, and also when we're allowing it to happen. Because I allowed that to happen for too long. We toured so many places, even though my fiance knew, I knew the very first place. It was scheduled first for a reason, because we already had a feeling about it, was the place that we were supposed to live. But because my own ego was just like, no, maybe like something else, somewhere else. I don't know, just like make sure. You have this idea in your head, so like, gotta do it. And I just like let it run. So we have to check ourselves. We have to be real with ourselves. We have to be accountable with ourselves. And this is something that, I've been working with my clients with in some of my private mentorships, because several, people are working on really developing their channel, developing that connection with their higher self, with spirit, opening up that channel, whether just because they want to, because they want to work with clients in that way, for whatever reason it is. Being able to differentiate when you are getting messages from spirit, from your higher self, from your guides, versus when it is coming just straight out of the ego space, straight out of there. And there are signs for this, you feel it in your body. Like, you feel it when it's right. You feel it when it's wrong. Our bodies are wise. Our intuition is wise. Our gut instinct is wise. And I would be lying to you if I said I didn't feel it. I felt this is home. This is the right spot as soon as we walked in for that first tour in this place that I live in now. I would be lying if I said all the other places we went to, the little wormhole of Googling and researching and scheduling and pushing that I got myself into. My body the whole time, I was tense. I was on edge. I knew it felt like, if you've ever driven a manual car, like when you're grinding gears, when you're not like hitting the clutch right, when you're not shifting properly, that is what it felt like. And so a big recommendation for wherever you are on your path, get real with yourself. Learn the sound of your ego. Because while the ego is necessary, it's sort of there to protect us, it also causes havoc if it's not kept in check. And learning the sound of when the ego has just like gone unhinged, gone off leash, and is just running around. And learning the sound and the feeling of spirit, of your higher self. And really being able to, one of the most freeing things I think a person can do is admit when they're wrong, when they've just been operating out of their ego. Like when we left that last place that I was trying to like force us to tour, we got back in the car and I'm just like throwing my little fit, like doing this whole thing. And my fiance is like, what's going on? And I was like, I know it's the right place, but it makes me mad. Like it was so ridiculous. But as soon as the words came out, as soon as I just like felt my ego just like, like, okay, I've lost this one. I felt so free and like, fuck yeah, dude, let's full send it into this spot that we knew was it from the get-go. I don't feel like the FOMO anymore of like needing to look at all these different places, and like I know that this is where I'm supposed to be. And I could feel it. Like, we went in, signed the lease, did it that day. Within 30 minutes of me having my meltdown, we drove over there, signed everything, paid everything, got on the road, went to New Mexico. Couple days, spent time with family, packed everything up, drove back up here, unpacked our cars for the first time in like 2 months. And I walked in and I felt all of my guides there with me in the apartment. I felt, some of our ancestors there. I felt spirit, and it was just like, yeah, dude, we have been preparing and cleansing and protecting this space for the two of you this whole time. And you're here now. And it was just like, it makes me a little teary even now of just how like, yeah, this has been a completely divinely guided thing this whole time. And while I was so trusting for the most part, I still had my little ego moment, my little ego death on the sidewalk on Colfax Street. All of this is to say, no one is perfect. Even your healer, even all the channeled messages that you receive. And learning to discern truth from lie, light from dark, intuition, higher self, spirit from ego is one, very, very important. And two, it just helps life it makes life easier. We live in a world of chaos and uncertainty, and being able to discern just what the fuck is going on in your daily life, the big things, the small things, is massive. And working in the Akashic Records helps with this. Working and really developing a strong connection with your higher self helps with this. And I highly recommend it. I highly recommend it. And these are things that we work on in the cauldron. These are things that we work on in the private mentorship. And I would love to help you. If you find yourself in the position of like, okay, I'm like ready to get a bit deeper. I'm ready to connect with my soul, connect with my purpose, and live in a way that isn't like running around like a chicken, with its head cut off. And really walk in purpose, walk in truth, and not exist in your ego as often. And also like not get caught up in the deception of all of it. Because just like another thing, like again, like I'm a person. I'm not perfect. And when we were looking at this place, like the place where all the violent crime had occurred. We were in there and it's like, oh, this is great. It's so pretty. And it's like, yeah, dude, because you stepped out of your higher self. Like you stepped into your ego and you put on the rose tinted glasses that don't allow you to have that discernment in what's going on. And like that was a scary moment. I was like, oh fuck. Like I dropped the ball hard in that moment of like, oh, this is great. We should totally live here. And like, just thank God I kept listening to the nudge of like, maybe look a little bit deeper. And like, not even on an energetic level, it's just like, what's happened there. And so yeah, it was a good this whole thing, this whole decision to move, figuring out where to live, all of it has been an incredible experience of trust, deepening trust, calling myself out when I need to be called out, and like locking in to who I am, what I'm here to do, where I'm supposed to be, so on and so forth. So this has been a long thing, but I'll start to wrap up now, but just with some updates about all the offerings, all the things going on. I have really, really trimmed down my single session availability. So just being able to book an Akashic reading, book an underworld journey, theta state, whatever. Because I'm really pivoting to focus more on my private mentorship. The things that have been happening, as I have said, inside of that have been completely insane, like in the best way. But just like really, really, really big shifts, really big changes. And it's been happening swiftly. So what this is, it is a like 3 to 5 month container that you and I enter into together. It's 11 live sessions, so depending on you, that can be done weekly, once a week or every 2 weeks. So that keeps us within the 3 to 5 month time span. No shorter than 3 months. That's too much. Like that does not allow for integration time and for things to like land and ground. But I'd like to keep it within 5 months. I understand that life things come up and sometimes like meeting every 2 weeks can be a lot. But the momentum is held in those 5 months together. And all of this is based off of where you are, what's going on, and where you're trying to get to. So it's not a formulaic thing. In some ways, the way it begins is there is a jumping off point of seeing where you are, doing a clearing and really doing a lot of clearing and really getting you back into your body, getting your energy as present as we can, like not forcefully, because that does kind of take place over time, but so that you're prepared, so that you have framework to hold and support you as we go through whatever it is that we might be going through. In the past few months, there's been a lot of shadow work with some of my clients, a lot of ancestral and like lineage clearing and like cycle and curse breaking. A lot of like removing outside shit, entities from people, from their lineage, so that that does not continue, so that they can step into their power and like start a new chapter. For other people, a lot of it has been like psychic and intuitive development, healing through past lives, healing through very deep, intense soul wounds, and rejoining those pieces of the soul back into the present, like reclaiming all of that. And in that, a lot of new gifts opening up, a lot of new gifts integrating and coming online. All in all, the whole idea of this is for you to step back into your freedom, the freedom of who you are, the freedom of being whole, the freedom of understanding who and what your soul is. And it's beautiful. It's beautiful. And when you enter into a container like this, like where you are so held and so supported, the energy is so strong. For a lot of people, before we even drop into a session, they'll kind of already have gone through a bit of a clearing on their own, like their soul just knows, you know? And so this work, we are able to move huge amounts of energy in shorter time periods. And you're able to move through faster, you know, than if you did this like on a smaller scale thing. I take a lot of time and a lot of care in building out these containers, these energetic homes, safe havens for each and every client, and just for what this mentorship is in general. Because it's so important to me that people are safe and held and move through things in the appropriate time and way and place that they need to. And yeah, I'm just rambling now, but it's been incredible. And the cauldron is another way to do that, but it is a bit more structured, and that I'll be making some tweaks to that for the next opening of it in the spring. But that too is, you know, it's in a group setting, so it's a bit different. It's not as as personalized, but there's something deeply special about working together in a group and being witnessed in all that you are, and working through things together is, again, that first piece that I said at the very beginning of this, of like remembering that we're not alone in any and all that we experience, is so special and so important. Oh, yeah. So all of that being said, that's what's happening right now with Aster Holistic. If you've been curious, if you have questions, if you want to know what's going on, I would love to chat with you. You can email me, hello@asterholistic.com. You can reach out on Instagram @asterholistic. Or, you know, if you're interested in the mentorship, in the next round of the cauldron, I would love to get on a connect call with you. And to stay updated on things, subscribe to my newsletter. That is the best way, because social media is like so annoying to me. And I've been just slowly but surely getting on social media less and less. And, when things are, if there's a new session, new this, new that, updates, the newsletter is the first place that I go to share and spread that information out. So I will leave the link to that in the show notes. And yeah, I'm excited to be back on the podcast. It's such a fun thing, and it was good to take a break and just be where my feet are, be in session with clients, and do the thing that is life. So I hope this was helpful for you today. Again, big reminder, nobody's perfect. Our ego gets in the way sometimes, and when it does, get real with yourself, forgive yourself, laugh at yourself, and move on, walking with spirit, walking with your higher self, and really, really sinking into that guidance, that higher vision. It's a beautiful thing. So that is all for now. I hope you are having a beautiful day or night wherever you are, and I am sending you so much love. Until next time, bye for now.